There aren't many exercises in the textbook that deal with projectiles, but since I've chosen to restrict our applications to projectile problems, that's all you'll see in WAMAP. Here's the first of the 3 quiz questions for this section. A missile fired straight up into the air has a height, in feet, given by h equals negative 16t squared equals 112t, where t is the time in seconds the missile has been in the air. By setting up and solving an equation, find the times when the missile reaches a height of 192 feet. We have all the information here that we need to solve this problem. Here's my equation, and here's the value of h that I want to replace in the equation. So I'm going to start by writing the equation out, and then by rewriting it with a value of 192 in place of h. This is the equation I'm given in the problem, but the height that I'm asked to work with is 192 feet. That's all the information I need to answer this question, but I have some work to do. I don't know whether you're going to prefer to move one thing to the other side and have a negative leading term, or whether you'd rather take the time to move 2 things to the other side, but end up with a positive leading term. I'm going to take that approach this time. I'm going to add 16t squared to both sides. And in the same line, a little bit of a shortcut, I can show that I'm going to subtract 112 from both sides. My right-hand side is now 0. My left-hand side is positive 16t squared minus 112t plus 192. Can you see where all the work we've done all quarter is coming into play? First of all, I had to know things like I can add or subtract the same quantity from both sides. I also had to know that when I did that, I can only combine like terms. All that preliminary work that we did earlier in the quarter is constantly being used now to solve equations. Okay, let's keep moving. I can only solve this if I can factor the left-hand side. Can I factor 16t squared minus 112t plus 192? If I can, the first step in doing so is to look for a greatest common factor. I've done this in the past by rewriting 16 as 2 times itself 4 times, and rewriting 112, and rewriting 192. And we can still do it that way. But the other thing we can do is press the y equals button on the calculator, and then type 112 divided by x. Remember, that's the x, t, theta, n button. That's that x. Then go to second graph to get a table of values. And you'll see that 112 can be written as 1 times 112, 2 times 56, 4 times 28, 7 times 16, and 8 times 14. How does this help? Well, these are all the factors of 112. Let's do the same thing for 192. Hit the y equals button, then 192, the rest of that should already be there, over x, or divided by x. Then press second graph, and you'll see that the factors of 192 are 1 and 192, 2 and 96, 3 and 64, 4 and 48, 6 and 32, 8 and 24, 12 and 16. 16 can be written as 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 and 4. These are all the factors of 16, the factors of 112, and the factors of 192. What's the greatest factor that they all share? Turns out it's 16. So 16 goes into all three of these numbers. In other words, I can rewrite this as 16 times whatever's left over. What is left over? Well, 16 times t squared is what I need to get this. 16 times, since I did it using my calculator, it's not as obvious what's left over when I divide 112 by 16. But I can use my calculator for that as well. 112 divided by 16 is 7. So 16 times 7t is 112t. 192 divided by 16 is 12. That takes care of my greatest common factor. But what about the rest? How else can I write t squared minus 7t plus 12? Well, my product is 12, and my sum is negative 7. I can either multiply two positive numbers to get a positive 12, but that would give me a positive sum, or I can multiply a negative times a negative. That'll still give me a positive product, but it'll give me a negative sum. So my product should all be two negative numbers. 12 is either negative 1 times negative 12, or it's negative 2 times negative 6, or negative 3 times negative 4. The sum of these two is negative 13. These ones give me negative 8. And these two give me the negative 7 that I'm looking for. So negative 3t minus 4t is the best way to write negative 7t. Finding the greatest common factor of the first two and last two terms, I get this. Remember, this has to be a minus because I need a negative times a negative to get this positive 12. The greatest common factor of these two terms is t minus 3. And what's left over is t minus 4. So this can be written like this. In other words, I can replace 16t squared minus 112t plus 192 with this expression. But all I've done is rewrite the left-hand side. The whole thing is still equal to 0. And this is a critical piece. Don't forget to write that down. Now I have a product of three factors equal to 0. So I'll set each factor equal to 0. "16 clearly can't equal 0. I've chosen to write that out anyway because what if I'd had a greatest common factor of 16t? Then it would be a different story. Solving the other two gives me t equals 3 and t equals 4. All right, there are my answers. T equals 3 and 4. But what was the question again? Find the times when the missile reaches a height of 192. That's all the work that we did back here. The answers were 3 and 4, or 3 and 4 seconds. It's at a height of 192 feet at 3 and 4 seconds. You can't quite see your whole answer there. The box isn't really big enough. But once you've typed it in, hit submit, and look, we got full credit. This one's the same kind of problem, although the formula is a little bit different. The equation we're given this time has a plus 15 at the end, because in fact this time our firecracker is being fired out of a window of a building, so it's not starting on the ground. That's the only real difference though. Remember that the height we're talking about here is the height above the ground, not the height above the window. The window is 15 meters up in the air. I can tell because it's being fired out of the window, so at t equals 0, its height is whatever this is when t is 0. This is going to become 0. This will be 0 if I plug 0 in for t. And 0 plus 0 plus 15 is 15. So when t is 0, h is equal to 15. That's how I know that the window is 15 meters up. In this problem, we're asked to find the time when the missile hits the ground. It's going to hit the ground after so many seconds. But all we're given is the formula. We're not given a height. Well, we kind of are. The height on the ground is 0. So I want to replace h with 0 to work out this problem. That's all I'm going to ask you to do in applications. There are lots of other ones, but we're getting close to the end of the quarter. We're all tired, and I think these are the most interesting applications. So we're just going to keep it to these. I think they'll serve you best anyway as you go forward. You'll have lots of other opportunities to do applications, but I think this is enough for now.